Kia ora and welcome to the Itinerary. If there is one thing that truly defines Aotearoa New Zealand, it would be our Māori heritage. With me now is a huge name in the New Zealand tourism and hospitality industry. It's my great pleasure to welcome Rewi Spraggon, the founder of the Hāngi Master. Rewi, kia ora, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. I'm going to kick things off and ask you, what is your personal definition of what Māori tourism is?
Yeah, kia ora, Megan. That's a good question, and I think it can really go back to manaakitanga. And manaakitanga is a word that tourism uses quite a bit, but you can't describe manaakitanga. You can only feel it. And when you go through Māori tourism and when people go away feeling that they have been looked after, feeling a special weight or a spiritual essence, then you've nailed it. And for me, that's what tourism, Māori tourism represents, everything to do with your culture, and it's more of a feeling opposed to an experience. It is both, but it's that real feeling of manaakitanga and hospitality.
I love the way you say that, rewi, manaakitanga, that feeling mixed with the experiences. And many Māori experiences delve deep into history and traditions. So on the other side, what would you say modern Māori tourism looks like?
Yeah, I think, you always look from where you've come, and I think you're right. Our experience, our difference in this world is our story, and it's our history, and so we carry that with us. And so whether you're using media or other types of things to create your brand or to tell your story, it is those roots, the whakapapa that's ingrained, that's embedded behind us, and that's what makes us different to any other operator in the tourism sector anywhere around the world. If you have that deep corded or history that goes along with your story, then that's going to be fascinating to the people, your manuhiri, your visitors that come to you. As far as modern, yes, sure, there's new techniques from the old white and pink terraces back in Rotorua, back in the day. We have ways, everyone that comes to Aotearoa, they'll check it out, whether it's Hobbiton or whatever, but they'll go and check out exactly what tourism means in Aotearoa obviously through technology. And so there's always a story with Māori, and so they find it fascinating, and that will lead them to, I believe anyway, a more modern way of connecting with Māori tourism operators. And it isn't really much different to the old days, but technology obviously is the unique thing that gets tourists here to Aotearoa.
Yeah, for sure. And I love the way you put that. You know, you have to look back, pull on those earlier traditions and cultural stories. And honestly, when I think about that, I can sit back and listen to the kaumātua, the old queer, talk about their stories and back in their days. And yes, we're lucky we can use these modern systems to reinstill that. Now, we know that things have changed for us when we look at tourism and this whole international restriction. So tell me, what is the domestic market like for Māori tourism?
Yeah, I think I've always said this, that Māori have always been in lockdown for over 150 years in business and tourism for a number of reasons. But we are very fast to adapt and change our tack, like our ancestors did when they came across here from Polynesia. They sailed in these double hull waka canoes,
Yes.
voyaging canoes, and so for us to change tack, it is quite normal. And I think this is actually a time for Māori to shine. But I do think the issues with COVID and everything else around the world, shutting our borders and our doors, gives us a bit of time to rethink and strategize what we're doing. And I know a number of Māori tourism operators out there that have changed the way they're doing things because we haven't got the international market, and they're doing pretty well. Myself, I can only speak for myself. I've now moved online, for instance, with my authentic Hāngi. I've now moved online. I'm also putting Hāngi into schools and making sure our kids are eating proper food. So it makes you regroup and rethink how you're going to do things. And sure, I get the notion of, look, explore your own backyard, but it is quite hard for Kiwis, and it restricts the restrictions at the moment with a lot of people losing their jobs. They're not travelling, which is sad. But I think the easiest answer to answer this is for Māori operators and tourism to actually put packages together, whether you're in the Bay of Plenty area or Taranaki. It's these times where we need to come together and pull packages together where people can go and have a 2-day authentic Māori experience. And working together is more powerful than working or competing against each other. And so I think that is definitely the way to go forward.
Oh, it's definitely a message we've been hearing a lot, that collaboration, the support of each other, the innovation and the creativity that many are now stepping into now that we've got those international border restrictions. Now, Rewi, this is something I'm really excited about. We seem to finally be closer to having Matariki as an official public holiday. What is your opinion of that? And what do you think this will mean for our Aotearoa?
Well, that's funny you say that, Megan. I actually lobbied back 18 years ago with Sir Bob Harvey back in 2002 to make Matariki a public holiday.
Awesome.
And a lot of people have picked it up over the years to try and, campaign and get it out there. So I'm a big fan of this. And actually my first company was called Matariki a while ago, quite a long time ago. I think it doesn't matter who holds the torch. I think it's about getting across the line. And I mean, why are we celebrating the Queen's birthday, for instance, when it's not her birthday and doesn't really mean a lot to us? But I think we don't actually have an Indigenous holiday, public holiday. Waitangi Day is not an Indigenous day. It's actually New Zealand Day. So we don't actually have an Indigenous public holiday. And I think how appropriate to have Matariki as our holiday.
Oh, I tautoko that 100%, and I cannot wait for that confirmation to come through. And thank you so much for being a leader and driving that campaign so many years ago. I want to now take us into one of your other avenues. Now, you've really made a name for yourself as the Hāngi Master, and again, I support that. I've tasted your hāngi and it's amazing. And now, despite it being closed, your other venture, the Maori Kitchen, it was named as one of the world's most exciting eateries to visit. That is an impressive accolade to receive. What opportunities would you say are out there for Māui'prenuers who want to follow your footsteps? And what is the advice that you can give them? Because you've been there, done that, still doing it today.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, I think I call it a Māui'prenuers. So Maui was an ancestor of ours who was quite a clever entrepreneurial sort of guy in his time. And I think those Māori that have his DNA, that strong lead of his DNA, are actually Maui-preneurs. And I think as far as entrepreneurship, a lot of us have that we have that in our whakapapa, but we've always traded throughout the centuries. Way before Pākehā came to our shores, we traded with other tribes, and it's in our blood. So I think it's about surfacing that, and like I have 95% of my ideas failed, but it's that 5% that actually worked. And I think you've just got to the resilience and just being persistent and continuing on, but knowing when to park your dream, because there's times when, you can only get so far, and it mightn't be you that carries it across the line. Look at Matariki, for instance. So it's about parking it and not drowning with the idea, but putting it aside and picking it up when you're right, when you get the right people involved and the right people you need to actually follow through. And that's always been the way I've done things over the years and many different projects. For people out there, have a solid plan, get good people around you, and make sure, it's not the beginning and the end, but you can always park it and pick it up later when the time is right. Understanding your weaknesses is the biggest strength you have. And if you can't do something, then get someone in that can do it. And you become a maestro to a great orchestra, if you like. So it's about putting those pieces together.
That sounds awesome. That's amazing advice. So thank you so much for that. I like the Maui-preneur, the maestro of your orchestra. You're clearly a sound, wonderful leader. And so that takes me to asking you, is more leadership needed by Māori in showcasing Aotearoa to the world?
Yeah, I think a simple answer is to become a leader yourself. And I think, there's a lot of leaders out there. And you look at the Tiger Waititis that have just shown the world how he's like him. He's a Māui'preneur. And when, no one heard of them. The Koni wines of Aotearoa, they're out there in the space. So I think it's eventually come, and there are a heck of a lot of leaders out there. As far as waiting for leadership, I think you just got to take it and go yourself. You can't wait and you can't depend on people. I know a lot of business people that were waiting on the government for this. You can't. You got to create your 100-year plan, your 200-year plan. And if your plan is bigger than an individual, larger and huger than a lifetime, then you're on the right track. So leadership starts with yourself and the people around you, and making sure that your waka can handle those big waves when they rise in front of you.
Oh, brother Rewi, it has been such a pleasure having you with us. Honestly, we can listen to you for ages more, but we've run out of time, and I just want to say kia ora. Thank you for everything that you're doing, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Kia ora, brother.
Kia ora.
Next on my panel is Tapeta Wehi of the Haka experience, with tourism hero Kiriana Koni, to talk about aligning our tourism industry with our Māori culture. But first, let's hear from Jason Biggs as he explains what a work in progress conversation is and why it is necessary.
The relationship between a manager and the employee helps a business grow. Your job is only as good as your boss, and there's a direct link between happy workers and happy customers. To support a good relationship, there are 5 key coaching conversations that we need to have at work. The first conversation is setting clear expectations. There are 2 types of expectations. Firstly, what expectations, which are our priorities, what needs to be done. These best happen through a bottom-up approach, co-created and agreed with the people closest to the work. Secondly, how expectations. These are the behaviours you wish to see within the team. These are top-down, described as how we do things around here and are our team's culture. It's like your kids can choose what sport to play, but it's not okay for them to punch their brother or sister. Being clear is important. It's not what we say that causes trouble, it's what we don't say. I once heard a story about how a manager mentioned that if he had a muffin, his preferred flavour would be blueberry. His team then organised to have blueberry muffins at every meeting, not that he ate one. Research found that 50% of team members are unclear about what they are supposed to do at work. So what does this conversation look like? Good questions to ask of your team are, what do you expect of me? And then follow with, what do you think I expect of you?
I'm now joined by Tapeta Wehi, the CEO of the Haka experience, and Kiriana Koni, who is an ambassador for the tourism industry as a Go With Tourism hero. Kia ora, and thank you both for being here.
Kia ora, thank you for having us.
Oh, wonderful to see you. Oh, I'm so happy to have you here. So first of all, Kiriana and Tapeta, I'd love to know what it means to you both to be doing the work that you're doing that revolves around being Māori.
For me personally, doing work that revolves around being Māori, for me, it grounds me, gives me a strong sense of purpose and drive to contribute to Te Ao Māori positively. I think that's ko te mea nui that's most important.
Awesome. Tapeta?
Kia ora, tuatahi, me mehi ka tika kia tātou katoa ko tau mai nei ki rungi te reo karanga. I'm very similar to Kiriana. I grew up, ko tōku ao ko Te Ao Māori, so my world is the Māori world. And I was very fortunate to have grown up in the Māori world. I grew up in a small place on the East Coast, 16 houses, no shops, a marae, and very fortunate to have been brought up at the feet of our elders. So it means a hell of a lot for me, and I'm very passionate. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about us as a people, but also very passionate about what we can offer to the world in many ways. So this is me whānau. Tēnā tātou.
Oh, kia ora. Thank you so much for what you're both doing in that space and really sharing our Māori kaupapa, the traditions. And Tapeta, you do such fantastic work going into businesses. I know that because I had first-hand experience with you during lockdown, providing guidance on te reo and Māori traditions. Could you give us an explanation of what you do exactly and why it's so important?
Yeah, kia ora tātou. So as I said earlier, ko te haka te kai te au I te pō, so I breathe, I live haka. And I'm very fortunate to have been brought up in that world. So moving to Auckland, we moved to Auckland in the 80s, and my dad started up a new company. We worked at the Auckland Museum for 14 years, performing 2 shows a day. And that was pretty tough. It was humble beginnings. And from then, things started to move. We travelled the world. I've been to every continent on the world, sharing, taking haka to the world. And so a couple of years ago, I decided to start up our new company, which is Tuihaka, the name of the company. The Haka experience is the name of the brand, and taking haka to the world is our vision. And so I'm working in many different strands. I have three main strands that we operate. One is the delivering workshops, cultural awareness workshops, cultural performances, and international performances overseas. And so I am in the corporate sector, something I really love doing. The majority of my participants or clients are non-Māori. So I use haka as a vehicle to teach the language, te reo Māori. I use haka as a vehicle to teach tikanga Māori, which are our protocols. And I use haka as a vehicle to teach Māori history, but here's the catch, in a fun and engaging way. And so, which is very important to me.
Oh, and I know that to be true for sure. We had so much fun doing the Haka Experience workshops with you, and we had a lot of fun too. Now, Kiriana, tell us, did you specifically seek out a career pathway that would allow you to represent your culture, or has it been something that has just occurred naturally or by accident? Tell us a little bit about that.
For me, it was definitely intentional. And my upbringing had a lot to do with my career path choice and being born in Kawakawa, the gateway to the beautiful Bay of Islands, has always resonated deeply with me. Following that, attending a co-ed Māori boarding school also helped to shape and mould my career path, and also ignited my passion to get involved in the tourism industry.
That's neat to hear. Yes, elaborate. Give us more. Go on. I interrupted you there.
And then committing a few years to gaining a bachelor degree in international tourism management, which then led to a position with Tuihaka, coordinating social media platforms for the business. And for me, this was a massive breakthrough and led to becoming an ambassador for Gulf tourism. So this has really helped to strengthen the foundations of my career and build and expand on skills within the digital and media space.
Oh, what a nice combination. Digital media within that Māori Culture Foundation, showcasing our haka to the world. Kiriana, tell me, what would be your advice to other young Māori?
I'd say to expand your skill set, expand your professional competency to allow you to perform your job well. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Fantastic. I think it's safe to say that we can definitely do more to allow and align the Māori tourism culture within all of our industries. What do you both hope to see in the industry within the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years?
I think it lies in the rangatahi. Ko rātou nā rangatira mō a pōpō. So our youth are our future. And building them up, getting them more involved, because we've got a new breed within our rangatahi. They're all matatau te reo, they can speak Māori, but they can also compete in both worlds. And so what I'd like to see are more Māori business owners who own our own businesses, and just helping along our youth and getting them all onto that waka, and so that we can all work together.
Sounds good to me. Kiriana, you are one of those youth that Tapeta is speaking about. How do you wish to see us in the next 5 to 10 years? And when we think of your youthful lens, your youthful eye, what would you like to see?
I listened to an online live session on what the major parties are proposing for tourism, and Matua Calvin Davis actually said something that relates to this, and he shared his outlook for tourism, for the industry. And he mentioned that his hopes for tourism was that the tourism industry gives back more to Aotearoa. It contributes more to Aotearoa than what it takes. And I think, that's really relevant to this conversation, and it's a view that I totally agree with.
Oh, that's fantastic. The way you do your research to see what's being said at government level, international level, you're obviously mixing digital technology with your Māori kaupapa and this haka experience. Wonderful to hear such wise words from such a young lady. So thank you, Kiriana. And Tapeta, what would be on your checklist for businesses run by non-Māori who want to align with the Māori culture?
It has to be genuine, Megan. It definitely has to be genuine. I mean, what we're seeing lately, what I've seen just recently are businesses, non-Māori businesses, who are using our kupu, using our whakatauki without any consultation, and kind of going on their merry way. It's a two-way thing. Get in touch with the local iwi, mana whenua, and but in saying that, I've also seen a lot of non-Māori businesses who have come on board with us and are doing a really fantastic job. As long as those businesses that want to learn more about our culture or want to deliver parts of our culture, that they know what they're doing and that there's a consultation process taking place.
Great. Authenticity, that realness, that genuine heart for it, a consultation by our locals and our iwi. I think that is some sound advice.
And we've seen a big change. We've seen a huge shift in the tourism industry. They're actually screaming out for this stuff, the hands-on cultural experiences. And it was really taking off before the COVID come along. But what I'm saying is people actually want to learn more about us as a people. They want to stay overnight on the marae, hike our maunga, learn different kupu, learn whakatauki, learn our pūrākau and stories about Waitemata and about Tāmaki Makaurau. How did Tāmaki Makaurau get its name? So not only is that happening here, but I see that it's happening worldwide, that people are really starting to take in Indigenous culture and what the Indigenous people have to offer, which I think
I totally agree with you. And I think the timing for it, I think it's overdue, but absolutely must be done. Would you say that there are some operators that just shouldn't be bothered when it comes to those cultural practices? I mean, I can't imagine some of them pulling it off. And for other businesses, maybe they're just doing the same thing and it would be too hard or too long for what they've been doing to change now. What do you say there?
Yeah, well, that's happening now, Megan. It is happening, and there are businesses out there who are just kind of riding the wave. It goes back to what I said earlier on about getting people in, maybe to talk to them about if they want to go down this track, then this is what they need to do. Is they need to follow the tikanga, the customs, values, and the whakaaro that align to that particular business.
Oh, wonderful. You guys have been invaluable. Thank you for sharing your stories, your background, your forward movement. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you both with us. Please keep doing what you're doing, and we thank you for being here with us on the Itinerary today.
Cool. Thank you for having us.
Tēnā koe. Thank you, Megan. Tēnā koe.
Kia ora. We will now wrap up the show with Kate Godfrey, who will take us through the basics of applying for a job, followed by some crucial information for our tourism operators who do not yet know about the RBP.
Previously, I mentioned STAR interviewing. Let's delve into that a little bit deeper. STAR, S-T-A-R, is a form of behavioural interviewing, where you use previous examples of your work to demonstrate particular skills. It's like recalling a story. You know, the ones when you get home from a long day and you tell your friends, guess what I did at work today? So the first part is the situation. Outline the occasion that you're about to describe. This needs to be a specific example, not just a general description of your job. Use phrases like, I had this one particular customer, or we had been having problems with this specific project. Give enough detail for the interviewer to understand the situation, but focus on the relevant details. Second, T is for task. Outline what your responsibilities were in the situation and what you were required to do. Third, action is the most important part. This is where you describe what you did, and it's the part that you should spend the most time on. Even if you're discussing a group project, focus on you and not just the efforts of the team. Again, be as specific as possible to show how you dealt with the situation. Fourth, results. In this section, you summarise the outcomes. How did the event end? This should be a positive outcome, evidencing how your actions had a beneficial impact on the situation. Be prepared as well for follow-up questions. They may ask, what would you do differently next time? Or what did you learn from this situation? So that's the 4 parts to STAR behavioural interviewing. The best indicator that you've got of what kind of questions will be asked are the skills that are outlined on the job description. Once you've got those, you can practice your answers so you're confident in the interview.
Kia ora koutou, ko Jane Finlayson Aho, and I'm the Head of Business at Auckland Tourism Events and Economic Development, otherwise known as ATED. And we are the government's Auckland partner for the Regional Business Partner Network. The Regional Business Partner Network, or RBP, is a nationwide network that supports small to medium businesses in both recovery and growth. The network consists of Callaghan Innovation, NZTE, and regional partners in 14 regions, and over 1,300 providers of services that support businesses with expert advice in both business management and innovation. The government has turned to the RBP network to deliver much needed support to businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. This support is for privately owned New Zealand companies, Māori trusts or incorporations who have from 1 to 100 employees, a GST registered and have an NZBN number, and are operating in a commercial environment. So it's not for community groups, NGOs or not-for-profits. New Zealand's tourism industry has undeniably been hard hit by the current global pandemic. So if you operate a tourism business, we really encourage you to join the RBP and get access to the support being offered, such as the Tourism Transition Fund. The Tourism Transition Fund was created to support tourism businesses with advice and support. The type of help available falls into 6 categories: financial and cash flow management, which includes scenario planning such as business hibernation, continuity planning, HR and employee relations and legal advice, marketing strategy and planning, digital enablement strategy, and health and wellness. Now you can choose to focus on one of those things or mix them up, and you can potentially access up to $5,000 worth of expert advice for your business. So this comes as an e-voucher, which is claimed by the service provider you work with. Additionally, you might be able to get help from the COVID-19 Business Advisory Fund and the Qualmark support. So information on those funds are available online. Getting access to the support you need is easy. The first thing you need to do is register your business on the RBP website. Your registration will then go straight to the regional partner for your local area. For example, if you're based in Auckland, or come through to our team here at ATEED. As regional partners, we'll advise you on the next steps in order to connect with one of our advisors, who will work with you to assess the priority needs that you have and provide access to funding for use with our registered service providers. For example, in Auckland, we'll send you a quick questionnaire and give you some other information to consider. But demand for these services is currently really high. At ATEED, we've doubled our business support team to help as many businesses as possible, but there is still a wait around of a couple of weeks to speak to the advisory team. And that's just due to the numbers of businesses that are in the same boat as you and are reaching out for help. The people you'll be dealing with, though, are speaking the same language as you. They're experienced in business, tourism, or both. We are very familiar with the different types of challenges businesses are currently experiencing, so please know that you're not alone. There is support here for you, so reach out and we'll give you a helping hand.
Join us next week when we will be discussing sustainability in tourism. I look forward to chatting with you all again next week, same time, same place. Haere rā.